Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the launch of A Kist of Thistles. I'd like to introduce, firstly, Mike Kelly, who's the writer and reviewer and chief editor of Culture Matters. Then I want to hand you over, please, to Jim Aitken, who's the actual editor, who's been the editor of the anthology. And please, Jim, if you'd like to unmute yourself and then take over from now. Thank you so much. I'll go to Eileen's iPad. There we are.
Is it not Mike who's going to speak first?
Oh, yeah, I'll just pass over to Mike. Could you unmute yourself, Mike, please?
Yep, I'm unmuted.
Perfect. There we are. Right. So, Mike, please. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Rose. And yeah, good evening to everybody. This is rather unusual circumstances that we live in, not to say unprecedented, which is obviously the world's favourite word at the moment. So just a quick few words then about where this came from, if you like. I was thinking about this when Jim asked me a few days ago what thoughts I had about it. Now the baby had been born, as it were, and really, I suppose it comes from the fact that we're not in a very good place at the moment in the world. There's far too much avoidable suffering and distress going on. But the world's full of good people who want to do something about it, who empathise with that suffering and with the joy and satisfaction in creation. And I mean, by creation, I mean the world around us, but also the act of creation, particularly poetry, I think, which has something special, a special poignancy and beauty to it. And I think this capacity to empathise and which enables us to protest injustice and imagine alternatives is really the motivation behind myself and Jim, I think to a large extent. And I can only say that I feel immensely proud of this book. Pride in being able to bring together yourselves, poets, the people who've actually written the creative material. Pride in working with Jim, because I think it's a monument to his powerful sense of moral integrity and his literary perceptiveness. And pride in feeling a part of a kind of community, really, a community of poetic, broadly political movements, that feeling of that fellow feeling. So there's all of that, along with a very strong sense of humility as well, of being in company of people of far more skilled and articulate than myself. I think that this poetry book, is one of the best we've published. It seems to me to be what all good poetry books should be like. It's about real things, real feelings, things that matter most to most people, the joys and the sufferings and the anger, the sadness and the compassion. And it feels authentic. It feels that this is what life is like at the moment. Not only in Scotland, although I think it is very clearly about what is happening in Scotland, but in everywhere as well. I think it's got that universal dimension. So that's all I have to say, and I'm very much looking forward to people reading their poems. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Mike. Can everyone hear me? Good. Well, I have to say, it's been a real pleasure working with Mike. It's taken a while. This book has taken this entire year so far. I'm really glad it's over. And then Rose goes and organises this launch, you know. So I had that feeling that the editing was actually easier than this launch. But never mind, we have got there, and I'm really, really delighted with the book. But before we actually get this event rolling, I've a few notices I'd like to give to everybody. We have the very best wishes from Mazig Buzaka, our Berber poet from North Africa who lives in Bururi, and from Peter Mackay, our Gaelic poet. They both wish us the best of the evening. I have some people who have told me that they want to listen in, but they don't particularly want to read. So I'll just read their names. Leela Soma, Colin Donati, Nicole Carter, George Colkitto, Kate Armstrong, Hugh Macmillan, and Geordie McIntyre, who sent me a lovely little message saying that in the book he was proud to be swimming in a sea of kindred spirits. So I think that's a very good way of describing it. I've also got a little bit of information. We found out today from Colin Waters of the Scottish Poetry Library, and he organises the poem for the Weekend Scotsman. He has chosen Leela Soma's Just Things to be in the Weekend Scotsman of Saturday the 11th. So if you can get a copy or maybe get one online, I think it was a wonderful choice. Although I have to say there was quite a few contenders in the book that he could have chosen, but I think that has the immediacy of the times we're living through. And I also understand that Andy Croft of Smokestack Books is going to be writing a review in the Morning Star. So there's two that we've got going. There's a few call-offs. Maggie Gibson has said that she has to call off. I think Anne Connolly said she's going to call off, but we'll maybe find out later on. And Vivian Jones has had to call off as well. So apart from them, if we're ready, I'd like to start the proceedings with the first poem from Finola Scott.
I think Finola has not arrived yet. She may arrive later on. She's not arrived
All right,
yet.
well, I'll just push it forward then. What we'll do is then, is Mandy here? Is Mandy Haggard here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, Mandy, you wrote a lovely little lockdown poem, didn't you? And I used it to introduce the book. So I'd love you to read it. Off you go.
Okay, I was once told that you should always read a haiku twice because they're so short. So here it is, Lockdown. A rustle of leaves, storybooks and toilet rolls, felling ancient trees. A rustle of leaves, storybooks and toilet rolls, felling ancient trees.
Thank you, Mandy. Thank you for that. Lovely. All right, I think we're now going to go to Rose. Rose is going to read one of her poems.
Okay. I'm going to read Whispers, the second poem in the book. I have the Queen's Speech and I've chosen Whispers. Listen, whispers, 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 hear us, whispers, 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 listening. In the darkness that may follow, the warriors of reason will return, hearing the call from the thunder, gasping at the changes to us all. The toxic air breathing out. Lightning strikes, but we regroup. Now hear the voices, eloquent and with courage. Nature whispering, even from the old oak trees, never relenting, never giving up. Whispers, whispers, whispers from the fallen autumn leaves. There is still hope, whispering in the rain, whispering in the mountains, lochs, the burns and wild heather, waves crashing, whispering and listening, whispering in the wind, reconnecting to ourselves. We are not of your making, UK. Our votes have been counted. The people voted from every single background. Scottish people living here, we know where we belong.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you. And could we go on to B Parkinson Cameron, I think, who's going to read Conform or Die?
Yes, hello. So two things before I start. Number one, I have nearly cried when I've been reading some of the stuff in this book, especially the biographies, because some of the people in here, I can't believe that I'm in a book with you guys. Like, I really can. I'm just a small young child in comparison. And this is probably one of my biggest accomplishments to date. So yeah, thank you for letting me be in this awesome collection with these awesome people.
Well, you're awesome yourself.
Second of all, this poem is actually from my angsty teenage days. So I was really surprised that anyone was interested in it. So thank you for, yeah, thank you. Right, anyway, I'm so nervous, so I'm just going to get on with reading from the page. So yeah, it's called Conform or Die. There are the ordinary people. They're always around you, so stand up, don't be shy now, come on and take a bow. In the court of average living, standing on display like a prize fish, your oddity is catch of the day. On the menu, you're the main dish. In the twilight hours of captivity, as you stare at the moss in the walls, you wonder with a steady drip of water from the ceiling how this came to be. Trying to hold flimsy memories in hand, a tragic obscurity mockingly calls. And the moss seems to pulse radioactive, colour bursting before tired eyes. The last night ends with a bright dawn, heralding a conclusion to an era of pain, as you are pulled by self-designed bondage, unceremoniously thrust into truth's light. You are left with one choice, the last choice, the greatest to ever be made, to give in or continue to fight, to conform or die. Thank you.
Well done. That's why you're in the book. So do we have Peter Kelly here? He's going to read either Flight or It's Not You, It's Me. I'm not sure which one he's going to read. Peter, are you here?
Yes, I am, Jim. Thank you.
Good.
First of all, can I say, well, both of them are very short. I'm going to read Flight. But I should say, first of all, thanks to Rose for taking on an ambitious Zoom like this. I'm sure it's very gratefully received by all of us. And I understand, I heard a rumour, Jim, that it's your birthday today.
I don't know.
No, well, I think that sounds like an admission. So congratulations to you, not just for producing and putting together such a mammoth piece of work, but also for your happy day today. Anyway, Flight. So fearsomely beautiful and innocent and pure, he scares the proud lion. According to folklore, it may be dangerous to unchain the unicorn. But as desire for unfettered liberty will at time of rebirth be the first priority, let us unleash and bareback ride the beast, making myth reality, while breezes from infinity refresh us to the core. We shall hurdle every boundary, healing as we soar, on a flight of the seemingly impossible, above and beyond unequal union. Our hearts at last will sing of freedom and Alapa Gubrach, the land of compassion.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for that. Excellent. I forgot to mention too at the beginning, John Tinney got in touch with me and he'd like to have been with us tonight, but he can't be here because he's working. There we have it, a worker. Okay, so next we'll go on to Cara McKee. Is Cara here?
Hello, I'm here.
Hello, Cara. Hello.
Hi, yeah.
You're going to read us Thorns.
I'm going to read Thorns, yeah.
Good.
Okay. Did you ever see that fairy tale? The one with the girl with the shitty attitude? Every time she opens her mouth, out come frogs and snakes and spiders. It's hard to listen to someone standing there up to their thighs in spiders. I see you know what I'm on about. You've spat out a few frogs in your time. Geez, oh, they're disgusting. You've tried to talk about, say, Tories, but pulled midges from your lips covered in spit. I'm owning it. I'm going for Thorns. They can catch a little, but whose lips aren't a mess this time of year? I reckon if we all focused together on brambles, we could build the kind of wall that Trump would be after. One of they with barbs and spikes and long interlocking branches. Maybe some roses too, whatever. Let the handsome princes come galloping by. I don't know about you, but I reckon I've got 100 years of thorns in me.
Thank you, Cara. That was brilliant. Brilliant. Do we have Gordon here? Gordon Dargay?
Yes, Jim, I am here. Sorry, I was
Fine. Good to see
a bit
you.
clumsy with my unmute button, and I'm very pleased to be here in this company. This is a very short poem called Hurchins, or Hedgehogs. And I suppose in my life I've crossed the divide in Scotland from where there were wains to where there are bairns, and the poem goes back to a time when people were, it's a memory of bairns running away from children's homes. It's called Hurchins, or Hedgehogs. Nothing came out about the hame for years, except for the wains that kept running away. We knew where to run to. Then we put them back. You were in for a quiet run, a wain with a coat buttoned all the way up, and nothing to say in the back of the car. You're told to mind for hurchins in a bonfire. I've picked them up and put them on the flames and tried a joke to bring them out a bit.
Thank you, Gordon. Excellent. Thank you. Now, our next reader, he's become a good friend, a long-distance friend. Chad Norman from Nova Scotia. Is he here? Chad? Okay. I'll maybe come back to Chad then. I'll move on. Is Colin Rutherford here?
Yep, hello.
Hello, Colin. Good to see you.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Jim.
Cheers, Colin. All the best.
Okay, excuse me. This is called Little White Lies. Of course I love you. Always did. No priest or nun ever touched a kid. Lewinsky's dress was stained with glue. Hitler's diaries, every word was true. Benito's trains were never late. At Hillsborough, they forced the gate. Brexit promises on a bus. Your NHS is safe with us. Bill Clinton never did inhale. Your arse is not sized like a whale. Diseased potatoes starved the nation. Einstein failed examinations. WMD found in Iraq. Margaret Thatcher had our backs. Each truth above, no cause for libel. I'd swear that on a King James Bible.
Cheers, Colin. Thank you for that. Excellent. Chad, is Chad back yet? Has he arrived? Chad Norman.
Chad needs to unmute his microphone.
Yeah, I've asked to unmute. Yeah, I've had to unmute. So
I'll come back to him.
yes,
I'll just move on. Well, we would have had Vivian Jones next, but Vivian can't be with us. So do we have Geraldine here? Geraldine Gould, is she here?
Hello, happy birthday, Jim.
Hello.
I'm going to read a poem called Atlantic, which I wrote not long after Donald Trump was elected, and sadly, all still relevant. Atlantic. Some giant had the name first, hailed from Greece down Santorini way, was tricked into holding up the sky, they say, by an even bigger muscled guy. Fearless, they clashed for just a bunch of apples. Books took on the name, mountainous worlds mapped out beyond the pillars, before anything, a river so vast it encompassed everything. Separating east from west, did someone guess what was to come? Ah, new world, old world, now we get it. The river has poured into a pond. The boats are clanking with remembered chains. No more heroes across this ocean. Just tinkling tones and crazy talk of walls and fencing, tricked from a new guy with orange hair. He is standing on waves of fear. Dappled fruits swell, preparing to fall or burst.
Thank you, Geraldine. That was great. Thanks for that. We'll go. I think I'll go on to Chrys next. Is Chrys Salt here? Chrys?
Hang on. Yes, I am.
Oh,
Hello.
well, listen, Chrys, before you start, I've got to say thank you for that wonderful promotion you did for us. It's gone down a treat. It really has.
Thank you. And happy birthday.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
39.
Off you go.
This one is called Meaning, Iraq 2003. And some of you will know my younger son was mobilized for Iraq in 2003. Not great for a pacifist. Remember George W. Bush. Collateral damage, shock and awe. Where are the meanings that we had before? Gives language a bad name, does war. Shock was his shaggy mane of hair until now, a dozen corn sheaves stacked together in a field, something you got a bit of. How did it come to mean this nightly slaughter, every tooth in the city shaken? And awe, crouched under amputations of falling glass, do they wonder at those sublime illuminations that rip homes and schools from under them? When targets are mistaken. Collateral. Now there's a word misspent, no longer money pledged against a loan, but children burned alive in the bent wreckage of a car, a hand blown from a wrist, splashed brains, backs broken. Collateral damage, shock and awe. Where are the meanings that we had before? Gives language a bad name, does war.
Thank you for that, Chrys. Thank you. Excellent. Is it possible to go back to Chad? Has he got himself sorted? Come on, Chad, all that way from Nova Scotia. Come on. Okay, I'll go on to Mary McCabe. Mary McCabe, are you with us?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, Mary, and thank you for that plug today in Scottish Pen's newsletter. That was excellent.
Yes, yeah. Well, I thought I would maybe also put the recorded thing, a link to that in the next newsletter, and that will let people hear what we've done, if that's okay with people. Yeah. So, yes, and happy birthday.
Thank you.
I thought I'd read the poem that's in Scots. I've got two poems here, but one, Scots is quite a nice, vigorous thing to read. The Erta Declaration. I wrote this at the time of the 700th anniversary of the Declaration of Arbroath, and well, the Declaration of Arbroath was, of course, a letter to the United Nations of the time, which was the Pope, seeking international recognition of Scotland's independence. And it struck me that the position we're in now, we might soon be writing more letters to the United Nations, and I just thought about the comparison. This is the Erta Declaration. Wabbit for the bloody fecht, call and weet the weather, liggin lay to peel, jouken in the heather. Seeking friends, and whitna airts, a puckle folk can find them, Flanders, France, the Hanseatics, Danes, the Haile Fair, pledging to nae earthly maester, laird or thane or king, in fear he'll strike you down, or in hope to gain liking, but a thought, an abstract dream, a half misshapen greening, wanting a better nation. Hurting for the campaigns, Colin weekly weather, marching tune to tune, 40,000 together, seeking friends in whitna airts a stateless land can find them, Norway, Ireland, Catalonia, Iceland, the 27, pledging to nae politicians, procurers of power or labour, in fear they'll tak your siller, or in hope they'll gie you favour, but a thought, an abstract dream, a lang established greening, planning a better nation.
Thank you, Mary. That was good. I used that quote in the back of the book. It seems so apt.
Yes, no, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you for that.
I think Chad. Sorry, Jim. I think Chad's.
Has he appeared? Okay.
Yes.
Chad, off you go.
Oh, his speaker. It looks as if his speaker's not working. That's yeah. Let me see if I can. Chad? We may have to go back to Chad. I'll have a look again. He is unmuted, but I'll send him a message, Jim.
Okay. Okay, I tell you what, is there any chance, is Finola here yet?
No, she's not.
All right, I'll just move on then. Could I go to Brian Johnstone then? Is Brian here?
Okay, correct.
Hello, Brian. Good to see you.
Hello. First of all, thanks for including my poems in this anthology. Very happy to be in it. I thought I would read the poem called British Bulldogs. I'm very glad that this is in the abroad section, because although it is about Scotland, it's also about the UK, about Britain as a whole, and it's also about Europe. I'm sure some of you will remember the game British Bulldogs. I was brought up in the 50s. This was a game that was played repeatedly at the Scouts and the Cubs and at school, which was basically a game of strength versus the majority, and a bunch of kids would be put in the middle of the gym hall, and all the rest of you would have to charge towards them and battle your way through them to the other side. Now, it struck me this was the perfect analogy for the Brexit referendum. So although this is about the game British Bulldogs, it's also about the Brexit referendum and the ghastly, I say, outcome that came from that. British Bulldogs. It's not the numbers, but their strength of will. They stand in rows across the hall, determination in their posture, certainty in the way they plant their feet, form fists. It's these you must encounter, run towards as if there wasn't a tomorrow, only yesterdays. They believe in, you do not. A whistle blows, crowds of you surge forward, seek a gap. It's true, some make it through to safety at the far end of the gym. Others, not so lucky, scurry sideways, flounder, give in to their fate. It's over in these moments. Force and bluster gain the day. What hope there is dashed in sweat, the panting outcome of the game.
Thank you, Brian. Excellent.
Thank you.
I wish it was just a game. Anyway,
it's quite.
Is Olive here? Is Olive Rich here?
Yes, I'm here.
Good to hear you, Olive.
Hi, Jim.
Are you ready?
I am indeed, yes. New Art Aberdeen is a festival of street art commissioned by the council, and effectively by commissioning, they take out the protest of street art. Not New Art Aberdeen.
Can't hear you, Olive. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is that better?
That's better.
Okay, I'll start again. Not New Art Aberdeen. Note after handwritten note reaches out in the breeze to passers-by, stopping them on the bridge on Union Street, where too many sons and daughters have fallen out of troubled lives. Looking down at rail tracks, I mutter their names. On this warm spring day between Good Friday and Easter Sunday, I mingle with shadows on the bridge, reading stories brave and desperate of those struggling with dark days. A grieving mother says, something must be done. Taking down every note attached to bridge railings is not the answer, dear councillors of Aberdeen, nor is a higher barrier. As one note reads, the lack of services is the problem, not the height of the bridge. Dear councillors, listen and extend a hand to help everyone cross the bridge on Union Street.
Thank you, Olive. That was lovely. I'll go on next to Christine DeLuca. Is Christine here? Christine?
Hello.
There she is. Hello.
Okay.
Lovely to see you.
Yes, thank you very much, Jim and Rose.
Yes.
This is a poem in the Shetland tongue, and it's about inequality, and it features two birds. One is the tyrrich, which is the Arctic tern, and they haven't had a lot of good seasons lately to fledge their young. And the other one is the great black-backed gull we call the HUAWEI. And of course it is a great predator. So set at Bloemel Sound between Yell and Unst. Wan wild at Bloemel Sound. Lange braks the Bloemel Sound smooth as a niesek. Turks lift the ferry furrows, sweep backwards in circles, scoiten for sulks. They dive and rise in perfect verticals. Another fairy comes, and still they laugh. Quit strug for sic a pity pick. Along the banks, a swabby tups and pinks, tripping for meat. Tief it is, he shists them till they drap their catch. He'll no fant, nor yet his kind, while piri turks fish the bloemel soond.
Thank you, Christine. That was excellent. Well done. I know, that was good. Good to have you. All right, I'll tell you what we'll do now. We'll go on to, is Chris Boyland here?
I am, Jim, yes.
Good to see you, Chris.
And
Now,
yourself.
you've got two poems. You've got Wrong or the City. Which one are you going to do tonight?
I would like to do the city for you tonight.
Okay. Off you go.
Thank you. Hope has broken out to the east of the city. In the distance, we hear the sirens, men in uniforms coming to close off the streets, to barricade the families into their homes and spray paint the black crosses of contagion on their doors. And of course, we have seen all this before. Young men poisoned by hope dream of peace and cannot be made to be soldiers. They are known used to the generals and must be shut away behind fences where they wander, eyes always open, gazing sightlessly at the fatal premise that the world might otherwise not be like this. And of course, we have seen all this before. We have lived through this before. In the infirmaries, nurses move silently between the beds, ears sealed shut with adhesive tape in case some thoughtful word, some thought, some idea escapes from a patient's mouth and crawls undetected up the brainstem and into the uninoculated stations of their minds. And of course, we have seen all this before. We have lived through this before. We have suffered this before. Families infected by hope believe the rumors of clean water and fall victim to the cholera or the typhoid. They speak in the marketplace or by the school where the parts of children are laid out for identification and collection about a vaccination against hope, a single injection to palliate the agony of belief that one day their lives may be lived outside of this perimeter of ruins. And of course, we have seen all this before. We have lived through this before. We have suffered this before. And we have learned. Without hope, we may live.
Cheers for that, Chris. An optimistic note. I wonder if there's any optimism for Chad or Finola, Rose. Any sign of them?
Finola hasn't arrived. Chad is here, but it looks like his speakers, aren't working very well at the moment. But I think he's busy trying to fix that.
All right, I'll just leave him then. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Rose. I'll go on to Morag. Morag is here. I think I saw her earlier.
Hi there.
Hello, Morag.
Hi, Jim. Happy birthday.
Good to see you. Thank you.
And hi, everybody. I'm going to read one of the poems I've got in the anthology. I haven't received the anthology yet, so I'm just doing it from my iPad. Our post is not very good at the moment. There's something weird with our posting our street last week, so I'm sure it'll come soon. So I was brought up in Postle Park in the north of Glasgow. So this poem is kind of about the secondary school that I went to when I was there. Alma Mater. Only the footprint of the place that made me what I'm not is still there behind the barbed wire and Budleia. Dandelion clocks rise in the air as they did then. We blew away the hours, counted down to the day this wouldn't matter. Wee girls of slender hopes, one whose blonde hair shed feathers from her father's budgerigars, one who slammed doors, kept her secrets close, silenced proposals and kind inquiries with a stony blink, one whose Ouija board revealed the future. All share the same tattoos scratched on skin, the whir of sewing machine, boys talking only football, smell of chlorinated hair, the treading of water, the need to leave and yet belong, 3 dinners, the older brother already gone, the knack of choosing. No grand reunion on Carbeth and Sunnylaw, wings of cabbage white and painted ladies throng in a meadow. The hymn of the old school was never written down. Its howls and grace notes lie quiet in the brick dust now. Still, our steps are singing.
Thank you for that, Maura. That was lovely. Well read. Could I go on to Gerda now? Is Gerda here?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, Gerda.
Yeah. Hello.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you. It's wonderful to be part of this great anthology. Thank you so much, Jim, for inviting me to take part, and happy birthday.
Thank you.
You're going to have so many happy birthdays to live up to after this evening. Yes, I've got 2 poems about statues in this book. Both of them are from a book called Edinburgh, which was a collaboration published last year with the landscape photographer Alan Wright. And I'm going to read the one about Henry Dundas. There's been quite a bit in the press about the Dundas statue. Henry Dundas was the first Viscount Melville, and he was born and died in Edinburgh 1742 to 1811. And he was the most influential politician in the British government of his time. He was the Home Secretary, War Secretary, Chief Secretary for India, and First Lord of the Admiralty, arguably more powerful than his friend William Pitt the Younger, who was the Prime Minister of the time. And apparently you could not get a job in government in those days if you didn't know Henry Dundas. And there's a note here that I add to the poem, which is that Dundas supported Wilberforce's bill in the British Parliament to abolish slave trading, but added the word gradually as an amendment which anaesthetised the bill, allowing the capturing and trading of a further 500,000 slaves for another generation. So this is my poem, and it's about that statue which is in St Andrew's Square in Edinburgh. It's an incredibly high statue, and this is in Henry Dundas's own voice. Henry Dundas, 1st Viscount Melville. You may bleat your outrage, but it's beneath me and won't take its toll. I'm above all that, solid as my column and mighty as the empire I strove to build. I'm a Scot, after all, and can thole time's weather. Granted, we lost America under my watch, but my sights were always high enough to view the long game. Tell me this, did your forebears complain when my single word amendment to the bill prolonged the slave trade's gravy train? They were content, I think, to sup with me the profits for another generation. I got things done, reined Ireland in, took India, rolled out the penal colony in Botany Bay, corralled South Africa, my favourite child, into the fold. Hear the ring of a global brand, Melville, Dundas, from land to land. The winds of change might blow me down, but I've earned the heft of every block you've built to laud me on this plinth.
Thank you, Gerda. I should say, just before you go, I had one of the Chetties on the phone tonight earlier, and your other poem about the statue of the South African woman and child in the Festival Square, it was inaugurated by one of the Chetty family. So one of them contacted me earlier tonight and was particularly thrilled that that poem was in the book.
Oh,
so there you go.
That's lovely. Thank you for telling me that. Thank you.
Not at all. Okay, could we have Julian Colton? Is Julian here?
Yeah, I am.
Good to see you, Julian.
Good to see you, mate.
Yeah, good. Well, you've got the new Petite Bourgeoisie or Boris's title. What's it going to be?
It's going to be the Bourgeoisie tonight.
Well, off you go.
And happy birthday.
Thank you.
This is the new Petit Bourgeoisie. They've come from the dark wasteland provincial streets, boys and girls from Blackburn, Paisley, Manchester and Leeds. They were once the underdog poor like you and me, but since they received their law degrees, went into IT, become middle class, the new petty bourgeoisie. Some moved down south to Brighton, London and Kingston upon Thames, see their new world order through a rose-tinted lens. Boys and girls from Preston, Glasgow, Birmingham and Tees. Once listened to Marley, Cooper Clarke and Linton Kwasi. In life, everyone has to finally move on, but turning your back, sneering at the people you came from. Used to vote Red Labour, now vote Blue Tory. Boys and girls from Bradford, Ripon, Scarborough and Grimsby. In the 70s, protested sus laws and rioted. Many I considered my friends. Some were hooligans but kind-hearted. Now think there should be controlled immigration or an adult conversation about it. Every box ticked, let's face it. These selfish bonehead bastards voted Brexit. Don't believe me? Look at their postings on the internet. Totally different people with something to protect. Forget that like them, others might wish to slip through the net. Terrace and high-rise routes decidedly shunned. Now their kids have a privileged private education. These boys and girls from East Ham, Derby, Aberdeen and Ware take 3 holidays a year and all the gym subscription gear. Make the school run in the gas guzzler 4x4. Say fuck to the environment and the underclass poor. All across the land, it's pension schemes, funeral plans, demand lower rates and £1 tickets for Glastonbury. Say screw public services like hospitals and libraries. Now they've aspired, these greedy aged fools, nostalgic for the old empire and WTO rules. They adore the royals, love Boris and Trump. I'm truly appalled at boys and girls from Longsight, Moss Side, Govan and St. Paul's.
Cheers for that, Julian. That was great. Isn't it lovely to think that the whole 62 of us in this collection have stayed true to their roots? Eh? Okay, I'm going to go on now to, I think we're going to have a musical interlude now. Have we got Louis Reeve?
Hi, Jim, how you doing?
Yeah, good to see you. Are you going to sing your
Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's we'll do a wee song. Happy birthday, Jim, by the way.
Thank you.
Rose, thanks for setting this up, and thanks for having me on in the anthology. It's the first book I've ever been published in. So grand.
Off you go.
This is the state of the nation. It's about the 2 Scotlands. Let's put it that way. We spent 200 years being wrapped snug in tartan, made to sing God Save the Queen. Oh, your forefathers say, be a proud son of Scotland, but in this day and age, what do they mean? We're all rebels and princes, fighters and lovers, feeling on top of the world. Oh, the few who will feature on the pages of school books, the many who will never be heard. Solving the mystery without any proof. Oh, enough of your lies, won't you tell me the truth? Are we up to our necks in the blood of old Jock Thompson's pen? Oh, the sugar, tobacco, cotton, molasses, looking at history through rose-tinted glasses. Nemo me and puny it, other such joy. Be you Scottish or British, English or Irish, take the box for your colour or creed. Oh, cultural appropriation on a packet of biscuits, it's the only real reference I need. Oh, from Ossian's diaries to the Highland Societies, inclusion behind padlocked doors. But the word Caledonian was coined by the Romans just to mark out the mad bastards up north. Is it yes, is it no? Is it getting beaten 3-0 at home? Is it a pregnant teenager at the end of a phone? Who hasn't the time to read Rob Roy, nor Ivanhoe? Have nothing to do but go out for a pint, eh? Or the blue-blooded bowler hats or shout 1690. For the next generation, take heed and sharpen their swords.
Did you say you had your supper in here?
Suited and booted, all dressed to the nine, in this royal Stuart kilt from some factory line, made in China, hiding away under a plastic cockade. Well, is it brains over brawn? Is it link over lawn? Is it choosing the right football team? Oh, the echoes, frustrations in a half-empty Hampton with Gerald Dalglish's Gordon McQueen. Oh, how do you feel about God or the deal? The flowers of the forest up for sale. When the young ones will pay for their parents' transgressions, and the old ones rehash the old tales. With night at 3:30, cold wind and tides, a wink to the lads and a toast to the lassies, a night at Her Majesty's pleasure to round it all off. Oh, the blue and the white, in a sky of slate grey, oh, the grovelling politicos with nothing to say. But it's hard getting by, given neither the time nor the day. Hey for Bob and John, hey for Cockalorum. Archie and Fawn. Oh, will you take the high road, and I'll take the low. When the skyscraper wind has got nowhere to go, and the blue paint's all smudged on the face of the start of the show.
Well done, Louis. Well done.
Thank you very much.
You know, it reads well on the page too, but it's lovely listening to it sung. Thank you for that.
A pleasure. Thanks everybody for having me.
Cheers. So have we got Owen Gallagher here? Is he here?
Hello.
Hello, Owen. Good to see you.
Well, it's nice to see
put some faces to lots of the names that I recognise here, and nice to see you all here. This poem is called "I Saw a New World Being Assembled," and the poem is set in Glasgow in a sweatshop in that beautiful wee village on the banks of the Clyde where I grew up, the Gorbals. And it was one of the first jobs I got. I think it was about 15 at the time when I left school in the sweatshop, and it certainly opened my eyes up to what was going on in the world of work. I saw a new world being assembled. In the tenements, there were workers who built dreams for others, singers who got drunk on rebel songs, fighters who fought for themselves in the workplace and lost every round, all in revolt against an assembly line of masters. I saw a new world being assembled in a sweatshop where dreamers, singers and fighters unfurled a trade union flag, their voices bolted and welded into one.
Thank you, Owen. Thank you for that. I think I said in the intro that poem reminded me of a Ken Curry painting. I don't know, do you know the painting?
No, I haven't. Well, I'll look it up shortly.
Check it out. I think that's the idea I got from that. Anyway, thank you for that.
Okay.
I'll go on next to Donald Adamson. Is Donald here from
Hello,
Finland?
can you hear me?
Yes, good to see you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Greetings from Finland. And just like to say, it's great to see so many pals here tonight, and also people that have been names before, connecting them with the voices and with they become real people. And this poem, maybe you know the feeling that the world would be a better place without certain people in it, especially in politics and the media. And it's maybe not a very nice feeling, maybe not a very admirable feeling, but it is what it is. And the poem is about this feeling. It's about wishing not well. Wishing not well. Whatever the opposite of merit is, they surely have it. The manipulators, the moulders of opinion, and their lackeys and lick-spittles, the career men and sleek-it hangers-on, guzzlers at the trough. I lie awake and wish them, oh, not well, yet school myself to thinking they have the reward of living with their own pure ugliness until they die, which may not come soon enough, but sooner, I hope, than for the poor folk, oldies who totter on Zimmer frames, the women on the bus, the single mums with fractious kids, of the rough sleepers in doorways who wait and hope and drop because they must.
Thank you for that, Donald. Thank you. I think we all know the kind of people you're talking that you don't wish well, you know? I think we all know who you mean. Thanks for that. I would have had Maggie Gibson next, but sadly Maggie's had to call off. So I saw Jean earlier, so Jean Rafferty, I think she's here tonight.
Yeah.
Are you here, Jean?
I'm here, yes.
Lovely to see you.
Happy birthday
Thank you.
Congratulations, this is such a beautiful book. I just
Cheers.
got my copy this morning and I'm just so pleased to be in it, thank you. I'm going to read Climate Change March. I walk along the cliff on the day of the march. No penance this, to watch the breakers scudding in below, to smell the tang of salt-spangled grasses. In the cities, people jostle together, spewing out hot air, Instagramming selfies from their blood diamond phones. Did they all walk there? And will they eat neeps and tatties from down the road? Give up their avocados? Will we stop burning out our eyes on the national grid with our computer screens? It's historic, says my friend. Takes the train hundreds of miles south. As historic as Iraq, when millions marched and they went to war anyway. Oh, hot sun in September. Seasonal, maybe. Or maybe another ice floe has melted at the top of the world. I move on the earth, breathe in the wind. On the path, a tiny mouse lies trodden to death by a clumsy human foot.
Cheers, Jane. Thank you for that. Could I go on now to, is Sheila here? Sheila Templeton, has she arrived yet?
Hello.
Hello. Oh, there you are.
Hi, Tim. Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can, Sheila. What are you going to read to us?
I'm going to read my poem about Keir Hardie, which is in the book.
Yeah.
And happy birthday to you, Jim. And thank you for a lovely, lovely book. Oh, this is in Scots. I meant to say that. James Keir Hardie. To Friedrich Engels, you are the super cunning Scot with demagogic tricks, and he wasna sooking in. Had he been a kirky manny, he'd have been down on his knees, picking up a word, making sicker. You never got near sniffing distance of Westminster. His girnin racks new hechts when you walked through that door, cleth bonnet and homespun, split new member for West Ham. Nay, for you, the call analysis, the long-nebbit theory of the dialectic, setting the world to rights. Ah, your gumption, your screeving, your words, come for life, for a day's long dark, for the hard chav of your hands burnt into muscle memory. Ah, these hours, sitting in the darkness, 10-year-old, listening for the rumble of each loaded cart, managing to practice your letters, gin you'd a Connell stump. Men voted for you o'er the heads of the wheel-gathered, the swall-headed, the high-bended. And it wasn't just 'cause you're kittling up words, though you could start a bleeze in any audience, aye, and relish it. But working folk were gizzant and wise the theorists had nae idea. But you did, and mair. Ilka chiel that voted for you, kent your years in the pit, piochered the coal black in your lungs, darred the beat of your contermit heart. Nay, that you were a thought principle, you were never a pragmatist, and words were your friends, a screever in papers, leaflets, oftentimes a waffy hame, world traveller, worldly wise. Yet ye keep it your watch at Cumnock time. For I could tell then what was going on at home, when the children went to school, when they returned, when they went to bed. For that alone, I'd have voted for you.
Lovely. Thank you for that, Sheila. Thank you. Rose, any sign of Finola at all?
Sorry, I can't see Finola on the list, but she may still come.
Okay.
Shad has sent a message and he apologises that because of the time difference in Canada, you know, he can't actually read at the moment because of the technical difficulties as well. But however, he's going to send a video to us. He says, "So sorry for my techie drawback. Can I send a video?" So.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just move on then. Thanks for that, Rose. Have we got David here? David
Yes.
Cameron from Northern Ireland.
Yep.
Ah, good to see you, David.
Hi.
Yeah.
Here are the results of the Northern Irish jury. Have you ever had so many people wish you happy birthday, Jim, before?
Ah, well, it's okay. It'll soon be over.
Birthday. The anthology hasn't made its way over the water yet, but I'm looking, especially after tonight, I'm really looking forward to reading it.
Yeah.
This poem is called Nostalgia Revisited. And I tell my kids how great the 70s were, and you know, no health and safety and stuff like that. And there's nothing better than old adverts to bring that decade back. But then when you start watching them, you think, geez, some of the reactionary sort of prejudices of the time. So that's what this is about. Cat owners used to second best, whose preferences were unexpressed. Kids who never felt quite full, unglowing on the trek to school. Girls whose eyes would scour bookshelves, not dote on dolls that wet themselves. Women who weren't content to sing and dance while doing the vacuuming. The glamour of that lost decade covers up the faded, frayed, or else just differently prized. Our lives were not as advertised. Think while the New World Symphony plays over homespun poverty. This was the liveliness of youth. You must now substitute with truth.
Good on you. Thank you for that, David. Excellent. Thank you. Let me see now. Where am I? Is Beth here? Beth McDonough. I was talking to her earlier today.
Yes, I'm here.
How are you? Lovely to see you, Beth.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jim, for everything. And
not at all.
And thank you to Rose for organising this. And what a lovely anthology it is. And even from my own point of view, to have two poems, one which is set in Pearl River in Sutherland, and maybe about pearls and maybe about ongoing ripples of the clearances, and something like A Lot of Women, which comes very close to home. So I'm going to read Look, I'm Not Angry, which goes out to my son, who was indeed very ill last night. So, look, I'm telling you, I'm not angry at the way you fell back in here at 3 a.m, pissed as a million farts. I'm not angry that you dropped a fortnight's worth of minging boxers, stinking socks, and the rest stunk on the floor in the certainty that you'd collect it washed, hung and ironed. No, I'm not angry that you've left a manky plate baked on grime from the micro underneath your unmade bed. I'm not angry that you treat this place like a hotel, except no hotel would stand for all this crap. I'm not angry that your latest girlfriend looks at me as if I've emerged from some midden. Even I really try to smile and wish you'd find someone much more right. I'm not angry that you've stomped off wordless. Worse, that you've told me where to go. Use terms no one should ever throw back at his mother. I'm angry that you've never had the chance in all your 20 years of life to pit yourself against me, cut my 57 years of pretensions and conceit down to size, make me think of where my art shit stops. I'm angry that all your needs can never let you put me down. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Beth. A very moving poem, that. Lovely. Have we got Callum MacDonald here tonight?
Yes, hi there.
Oh, good to see you, Callum.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me, and thanks for including my poems. I'm very grateful to be part of it, and happy birthday, Jim, as well.
Cheers, cheers. Well, I take it you're going to read The Economist tonight.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So a wee bit on the longer side. So sorry in advance for that, but I hope it's okay.
Fine, off you go.
So yeah, this is kind of about Adam Smith, and I also grew up in Kirkcaldy, which is where he's originally from. So that was kind of the starting point for this poem. So the Economist and I are fae the same lang tune. He was shaped by the capital and spending time with Hume, inspired patriot rebels and came to influence soon everyone from Marx to Wall Street tycoons. I was there in the 90s, before dial-up was obsolete, when the fans in the railway stand used to fill all the seats. The settled will of the people, for some remained incomplete. Half-time in Munich and they'll be dancing in the streets. More than 200 years after the philosopher's death, with his statues and institutes and the national debt, even a far-off asteroid bears his fabled epithet, like a champagne supernova from my cousin's cassette, and the fireworks above his theatre, which made me upset. An explosive debate surrounds his key messages, like Jacobite rebellions and yes voting percentages. Hearing brimful of Asha on the 45 carriages of the fairground bodgems recalled in fragmentary images. These links market memories and a free market idol, cited when greed is good, experienced the revival. But would it be sacrilege or breaking with protocol to claim the hand's invisible because it's not there at all? Read the whole book, some dissenters would say, insisting he foretold industrial misery and drudgery, and saw vast inequality wherever there's great property, not like some zealot for the modern gig economy. If the vision of labour can make us happy and smarter, it won't be when my leisure time means you have to work harder. That's the dogma of Thatcher and most presidents post-Carter, to pursue one's own ends with furious ardour. While some live in opulence, others in destitution, the homeless man told me about a cultural revolution, that we should all be feminists like Chimamanda's solution. This is bigger than a Caesar Sari, it's entrenched in institutions. So if men are jacks of all trades but masters of none, it means we're all responsible but monsters not one. Before the Enlightenment, the real witch hunts were run. Women burned at the stake, now left to rot in the sun. Reject the tabloid hysteria, see the pattern of causation. He bragged of spit roasts and sluts during Grand Slam celebrations. She faced a blaze of skeptics. They were cleared of all the allegations. What does that say about the health of our sick nations? Some things matter more than the wealth of our sick nations. We're flaming schemes engulf kids' dreams, and some of them go unfed. They get sympathy till they turn 12, then they're just called Neds. My gran knew her butcher and baker. She goes to Tesco now instead. Place the item in the bagging area is all that anyone said. Through self-interest, not benevolence, these exchanges became unfettered. It's insincere to scaremonger, but some things could be better. We're all looking for the next prophet, the next hero or trendsetter. Just remember that the postie is equal to the man of letters.
Well done. Thanks for that, Callum. Excellent. Is Mario here? I think I saw him.
Right here.
Yeah, there he is. Okay, Mario, are you going to read us Indiana Jones?
I will indeed, yes.
You go.
Well, first of all, hello, everyone. And then thank you, Rose. And happy birthday, Jim. And thank you for the kind words you have about Scottish Pen in the introduction to the anthology.
Yeah.
So here's the poem. At one point I use the word souks, it just means a bazaar. And it's about a scene in the film Indiana Jones. And I actually do like those Indiana Jones films, and I have great respect for Steven Spielberg as a filmmaker, but this particular scene did disturb me. It made me uneasy. So this is what the poem is about. Your quest was to find the raiders of the lost Ark, Nazi fanatics searching for them in the souks and alleyways of a dusty Tunisian town. Its crowds of Arabs looking for bargains, or eager to give you a sales pitch. You'd already bought a pet monkey holding onto your shoulder, screeching at anyone so bold as to get too near his master in a white hat. While you shield the sun from your eyes, a tall, bearded, black-robed man rushes out of nowhere and waves his scimitar at you, his taunting snarl a real threat. You just shrug your shoulders, smiling ironically, suave in your self-regard, and take out a revolver always well hidden, but really ready to use at any time, like right now. One shot is all it takes, and your attacker crumbles before you, his life snuffed out, but not his dreams of burning skyscrapers. All the others scatter quickly or stand in sullen silence. You said about the Nazis you're hunting, I hate those guys. If these killers play dirty, might is right, their creed. Take a look in the mirror, hand on heart, how different are you?
Thank you for that, Mario. And your other poem in the book is about Orwell and Jura, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, yes.
Okay, thanks for that, Mario. We'll go on now to Jim Ferguson. Is Jim Ferguson here? Jim Ferguson? No, okay, I'll move on and come back. Alistair Findlay, are you here?
Yes, I'm up here
good to
in
see
my
you.
booth, Roy. I'm using my wife's laptop, so.
That's fine.
Happy birthday, Jim.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you and Mike for getting this thing together. It's a great thing to have another Scottish anthology. My poem, I've got two poems, but the one I'm read is called Dream States. Note the plural in that. Thing about the anthology, Tom Leonard, in his introduction to Radical Renfrew, which is a significant anthology for the left, said that any society is a society in conflict, and any anthology of poetry which does not reflect that conflict is a lie. And I think the range in this anthology is just right. And in that spirit, I've submitted Dream States. 4 more years of phony outrage frae a wee barrel frae Skye, he says, an investment banker, Glasgow High. You'll be hearing from us, he says, frae the people of Scotland. Oh aye, is that the 45% that voted yes, minus the 36% SNP voters that voted leave? I voted yes, to keep McGahey's federated socialist Britain on the table, in play, a popular democratic republic minus crown, lords and petty bourgeois nationalists talking left and walking right. A dream? Yes, 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 and one worth having.
Okay, thank you for that, Alistair. Thank you. Have we got Leslie here? Leslie Benzie, is she here? I think I saw her earlier.
Yeah, I'm here.
There she is.
Hiya.
Okay, what are you going to read for us, Leslie?
Well, both of my poems are quite long, so I'm not going to say much. I'm intrigued to know how old you are, Jim. But maybe that's rude to ask a gentleman. Anyway, so I'm not going to say much because both the poems are quite long, and I'll just get on with it then. This is a poem called Remembrance Day, and I wrote it quite shortly after the last Remembrance Day in November. So here we go. The top brass in immaculately tailored military frock coats, their buttons and boots polished within an inch of their privileged lives to reflect their solemnity for those who died in previous wars. This unquestioning silence is 100 years since the first to commemorate the end of World War I, in which 17 million people died in the war that would end all wars. The top brass are flanked by the last of the World War II veterans, their heads held high, their bodies frail and sickle-shaped, with the weight of bravery pinned to their chests, and the memories of comrades whose bodies and minds were broken amid the relentless din of staccato gunfire and aerial bombing. And even when not under fire, the sound of the mud and blood mix as they moved around in the trenches, sucking at their souls and rotting skin from bone, so that it clung to the insides of fragmented boot leather, and dreams bound forever with the sounds of death, from the boys become men, become boys again, whimpering their last for their mothers, who also died in their droves amongst the around 80 million civilian and military deaths. In this 2-minute silence, are they remembering just those they knew, or reflecting on any of the many lessons from history? Hitler's devious and previous criminal form was never an impediment to his rise to power on the basis of an approach that stated all propaganda has to be popular and has to accommodate itself to the comprehension of the least intelligent of those whom it seeks to reach. As such, he was hailed as saviour from the austerity that dogged most ordinary Germans' lives, while their economy collapsed amid government mismanagement of their balance of payments for both war and peace. He's not the last, but possibly the first master to twist the truth and the will of the people willing to follow, till only the facades of bombed-out buildings stood, their hollowed windows like the souls of the defeated Germans, made to file past the vast piles of Jewish bodies, starved and gassed, for the world of ills that lives inside the hearts of the instigators and perpetrators. As Hitler's imitators trawl our social media and drop pop-ups instead of flyers from the ether, sycophants to right-wing leaders draw attention away from their political crimes. Instead, migrants and Europe are cast as the enemy as the Daily Mail chimes in unison, congratulating itself for its patriotism and solemn remembrance of those who made the ultimate sacrifice, while commenting on which designer dress the Duchess of Sussex is wearing. It's almost possible to hear the bleating, "We won the war and beat the Nazis," as touching photographs and grainy newsreel footage of kinder transports are paraded in the tabloids and on mainstream TV. As if edited out and left on the cutting room floor, there's no sign of their Jewish parents, and over 500,000 Jewish asylum seekers who were excluded from Britain and left behind in Nazi Europe. Then as now, the Daily Mail headlines of 1938 berate the victims. The way stateless Jews from Germany are pouring it in from every port of the country is becoming an outrage. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, carry on.
As it buffs the nationalistic jackboots, grinding their heels on the bloodied carcass of truth, and it swept from our collective memory that Hitler's war floundered in Russia. While we're encouraged to pride ourselves for being plucky Brits and separate ourselves from the longest period of peace and stability in European history, the disenfranchised rant about the will of the people and vote for politicians eager to carve out a society that will see us hang forever on the coattails of an ally who is armed to the teeth, always gritted and bared to thwart any defiance, always prepared to send many more youngsters from the homes of the poverty-stricken than from those of the rich, over the top again, whenever, wherever.
Thank you for that, Leslie. Thank you. There's certainly a lesson there. Where are we now? Anne would have been next, but she's withdrawn. Do we have Kate Lindsay here?
Yes, I'm here.
Ah, good to see you, Kate. You're going to read your poem, Truth, which looks lovely on the page.
Right, I'll maybe let you see.
Yeah, it looks lovely on the page, yeah.
Yes, it's a tiny poem, but so happy birthday.
Cheers, cheers.
Maybe the last person to say it. And thank you very much for including me in this and wonderful anthology. I'm a bit overwhelmed by where it's sitting, but anyway. So the poem is called Truth. Truth is a sword with more than one edge. One side can wound, the other can cut the ties and set us free. Thank you.
Lovely, lovely. Thanks for that, Kate. That was excellent. I'll go on to Meg now. Is Meg here? Meg Bateman, the Gaelic poet. Meg, is she here?
She wasn't there.
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Oh, good. I can't see. Oh, there you are. I can see you now.
Well,
Lovely to see you.
My fellow outraged poets. Very nice to hear you all and see you all. And Jim, thank you very much for having me. I was going to read a poem from the foot and mouth disease in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
I read The View from India about it, where cows are sacred. And it really brought home to me what a nonsensical argument capitalism is really for anything. And it's one of the good things, I think, that has come out of the COVID pandemic, that for once we haven't put capitalism as the final arbiter of good sense. Foot and mouth disease isn't fatal. The animals would have recovered, and the only reason to kill them all was to keep the good British name of British beef pure. I'll read it in English and then I'll read it in Gaelic. Pushed, 2001. Han charach seo tostach gun sprave and rune, gun veli churach no frigust uan, gun crow is lei ruaga brechga gun slis, ach an casan spakach a stúra grinjev, an brúhin crain torach a brúchag san chess, touch gu an fiola a cur impi is an taunt. Sacrifice, 2001. This spring is dumb without stock in the fields, without the bleating of ewes and answering lambs, without cows and their calves giving colour to the hills, but their splayed legs thrust to the skies, their full wombs bursting in the heat, the black fumes of their flesh petitioning greed.
Thank you for that, Meg. Did you get the book, Meg?
I did, thank you.
You did.
It was
good,
like my
good.
birthday.
Well, lovely. And did I get all the Gaelic right?
In the second one, yes, and in the first one, there were a few mistakes and I'm sorry I didn't say to you, let me proofread it. It's so easy to mistake an I for an L or that sort of thing. But no worries, Jim. You've done a grand job.
Listen, I had a dream one night that somebody was shouting at me in Gaelic. And it was all because I was typing this up in Gaelic and I was really quite worried about it. But if it looks not bad, I'm quite happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, wait. Finola, is Finola here? No? Well, I tell you what, I've had a message. Colin Donati is listening in, and I think Colin is prepared to read his poem. So are you there, Colin?
Yep, yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good. There you are. Nice to see you, Colin.
And thanks. It's great to hear everything. Yeah, mine's really more kind of about language, really, and kind of the way that the word radical is, or thinking about the way that the word radical is co-opted sometimes.
Yeah.
Grand for the Hearst. Having radically reached by a radical foot the radical summit of the radical hill under the radical blue of a radical sky, he sat radically down in the radical sunshine, with the radical far glimpse of the radical sea, in the radical good weather over radical farmland, where the monetized farmers in nitrogen-sown fields with petrol-driven harvesters and petrol-driven tractors mechanically gathered in the final commercial harvest. Meanwhile, the radical horse on the radical steep ground with the radical barren slope cropped radical grass, and for a radical hour standing radically still, gazed out into the radical far hind.
Thank you for that, Colin. Thanks a lot. I think that's everybody, unless there's anybody else who's listening in who said that they weren't going to read. If any of you have changed your mind and you'd like to read, I think we've still got a bit of time, have we, Rose?
Yeah, there's still plenty of time.
Nobody out there?
Hi, Nicole here. Oh, sorry, Annie.
Who's that?
Nicole.
Nicole Carter.
All right, Nicole, off you go.
Okay, I'll just get it. I'm glad I remembered what page it's on. Thanks so much for this, guys. It's really amazing. I'm totally gobsmacked that I actually managed to get into this. Thanks to Jim, Mike and Rose. So this is He Spoke Lallans. Words don't come cheap. Weren't always everyone's right. Words can soothe a tortured soul or start a war. Words are gold, diamonds, platinum, priceless to me. The spoken word, a conversation, can make my body tingle, my heart flutter with joy, like manna feeding my spirit, or it can fill my day, my week with gloom. I've heard it said the world would be a better place if we used less words and made more positive actions. The words of an animal behavioural psychologist, no less. While I believe this may be true, to want to use positive, kind words is not necessarily what everyone feels like doing. The ability to read and write is often taken for granted. I knew a man who, at the age of 21, couldn't do either. He spoke Lallans, not proper English. Different demographics, different circumstances. He could have been a brain surgeon, but he was homeless. He was just another cog in the mechanism of the facilitated, vicious cycle of care home abuse, homelessness, and prostitution. Well, what were his options? What were mine when I was homeless? I can read, write, and speak English fluently. I was indoctrinated to do so. Words can give hope or take it away. Words can bring people together or push them apart. Words can heal. Words can get you a roof over your head, employment, and food to eat, or strip you of these basic needs. If someone who has a so-called rough accent said exactly the same phrase as someone who has a so-called well-spoken accent, who would you respect more? Which one would seem more employable? Which one would you trust? Please don't judge people by how they speak, their accent or use of vocabulary. Please never let our traditional Scottish languages disappear.
Thank you for that, Nicole. That was great. I'm glad you did that. Well done.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else out there then that would like to read?
I thought I was going to be included in the list, but...
Oh, Annie, yes, lovely to see you, Annie.
Lovely to see you. Happy birthday.
Yeah, good to see you. Well, no, you never said that you were wanting to read, but you had to do that. But it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You're here. Right. So what are you going to read?
I was hoping to read a poem called Laundress 38. This time last year, I was very lucky enough to be traveling in South America. And one day in Santiago in Chile, two things happened. The first was that I saw a poster for that amazing film Ne Passeran, about the Rolls-Royce workers in East Kilbride. This poster was, believe it or not, in the Arts Centre, which has now been built under La Moneda, the palace that was bombed. And we saw that. We then went on to this place called Laundress 38. Laundress is a street, number 38, which used to be a clandestine detention centre in the 73 to 75 under Pinochet. And I was incredibly moved by what I read about. I mean, obviously I knew a bit about that anyway. So this is a poem called Laundress 38.
Off you go.
I did not enter, cuffed, blindfolded, eyes taped under sunglasses. I did not wear the clothes stripped from corpses rank with electric sweat. I did not learn to tell the time of day and night by what the Dina ate. I did not bleed from gums, spitting teeth like orange pips. I did not flinch when tools wrenched fingernails, hammered ears deaf. I did not clamp my tongue as they flicked the switch, razor sliced my breast. I did not gag on choking bile from holding down the names. I did not watch my mother writhe, tied to the metal frame sprung with rats. I did not hang from flesh-torn feet, hooded head drowning in excrement. I did not disappear.
And you didn't disappear tonight either, did you? Lovely to see you, Annie. That's great. Thanks for that. Is there anybody else who I didn't have on the list? Anyone else who'd like to read? If not, you might have to listen to me. Who laughed there? Well, I'm going to read you one from the book. Like me, I'm sure you must all have seen or squirmed when you see that guy on the news, the royal reporter Nicholas Witchell.
Oh God.
Yeah, you must have. So this kind of came to me, and it came to me in Scots. It doesn't usually, but this one did. So I've called it, If Only Nicholas Witchell Spoke Scots. And this is the second time I've read this today, by the way. I'm fair scunnered with a hale lot of them, and with a hale nonsense so all. This latest stooshy is the last straw for me, with they wee pups saying they've had enough and wanting to be financially independent. Aye, right, that will be right, so it will. They've both got heaps of siller as it is, and what they really want, is to make mayor on the celebrity circuit, talking a load of posh pish to whoever pays the most. She'll probably bring out a wee cent called Miss Markle or Markle Sparkle or the like, and he's got his games to craw about, along with some bits and pieces of charity work, because the richer they are, the more they love charity. But it's no just Dawn, it says bloody Father Charlie. He can't fool me and I can't fool him. And as for that drunken blellum that's his father's wife, and his dodgy Uncle Andy with yon yank that's twisted, and his other Uncle Eddie nobody seems to talk about, and the old Duke that's just about to keel over, and his granny would just winna ever keel over till her family's the richest gin on the face of the earth. Ach, I've had enough of a lot of them. With all my snivelling and crawling after them, with my sappy voice like Holy Willie afore me, when most folks just have to get by as best they can, and some of them can't do that with 0 hours and have to go to food banks to keep it all together. For all that, I'm going to be a Republican. Okay, is there anyone else out there wanting to read? No Finola, no Chad, Jim Ferguson? Is Jim Ferguson around? No. Well, I think what we'll do is then I'd maybe like I'd like to hear what Mike's thought of the evening. He got English, he got Gaelic, he got Scots. Is Mike there? Mike Quill?
Yes, sorry. Yes, hi, Jim. Yeah, that was great. That was really good. I mean, yeah, I do like listening to the accents. Well, especially yours, actually. That last one, that was hilarious. So really good. One of the striking things about the anthology is the sheer diversity of the voices, isn't it? The different uses of the language. But very, very various approaches. So great to be able to hear people say the poems as they want them to be said, I suppose, as they're written. So yeah, fine, really good. Really enjoyed it.
Okay, Mike, thanks for that. Thanks. Can I go back to Rose? And I'd just like, on behalf of everyone here and everyone who's been involved in tonight, really big, big thank you to Rose for all that you've done putting all this together. We really do appreciate it. We'll give you a thumbs up, everybody. Thanks for that, Rose. You can have the final word as well, Rose.
I would just like to say thank you so much for the opportunity, because I've thoroughly enjoyed myself tonight. It has been absolutely extraordinary. And the recording of it, it's actually working. So there will be a recording of the evening. We can sit and relax and listen to it all over again. It'll be lovely. There was one, Chad actually sent me a video. Now I was going to attempt to try and fiddle about with it, but I was so because I haven't done that before. But I just said to Chad, I hope that we can perhaps attach his video to our recording. So yeah, we will hear him at some point. Thank you so much, Jim. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, good night, everybody. Good night. I hope you've all enjoyed yourselves. I have.
Good night, Jim. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Birthday.
Bye. You should all sing or something. Good night.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. That was super, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah, well done, Jim and
Thanks,
Mike.
Rose.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good
Thanks,
night.
Jim. Thanks,
Thank you
Rose.
so much, Mike. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jim.
Bye now.
Make sure
Bye,
you,
Sheila. Bye, Colin.
Bye, Rose. Thank you.
make sure you save the recording before you switch it off.
Oh, yeah. That's right, Colin.
Yeah. Don't switch it off until you know it's all saved.
Because that's why I didn't want to, do the file thing just in case. But no, it's working. No, it's working perfectly fine.
You can lose them. I've been with folks that've lost them. Yeah. So that's brilliant. Cheers.
Okay. Good night, everyone. Thanks again, Rose.
I'll post it into Mary McCabe as well, because
yes.
Oh yes.
I'll put it on the August Pen newsletter, so people can listen to it, and I might put it some other places as well where people might want to listen to it.
Absolutely, I'll as soon as I come off, I will go back, and it won't take long actually, unbelievably. So I'll send it off to Jim tonight.
Okay.
Oh, lovely, Rose.
Thanks, Rose.
Thank you. Thanks.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Bye.